Here we have the Strike Force Alpha O-Ring action figures from Scorched Earth. Now, as you can see, there are a lot of figures here. In fact, there are 15 different figures in package here. And I actually do have more over here somewhere. There's about 6 more, and I have about 5 accessory packs. And we're going to look at all of these really in depth. This is going to be a very, as far as I can do, comprehensive, detailed look at these action figures. Now, I would actually have them all in here, but what they have are collector-friendly packaging. And what that means is it's got a nice, shiny cover, mostly plastic packaging that the card slides into. So, like, you can flip this down. You could slide the card out if you want to. And that means you could take the figure off out of the package and then later put the figure back in the package if you would like to. And so that makes this very shiny, very slick. And I would have a quick little comment about these packages is you cannot stand them up. There is no little piece down here, or they don't go directly to the edge. I don't expect them to, but it'd be nice to have a piece down here. So if you want to display these on card or on a shelf, on card, in card, on card, whatever, on a shelf, you can't do it because they just tilt right over, and they're so slick you can't actually even stack them on top of each other. They flip and fly and slide, and it's very difficult. So there is a hanger here that can be folded up, folded back, whichever. And if you want to display these on card, you're going to have to hang them. That is the only way to do it, unless you come up with some sort of a wedge or a prop that you can stack them up and get the edge off, or cut the edge off the bottom or something. But these figures, they do not stand up on card. Anyway, I'm tired of looking at these. We're going to get in and really look at these figures in depth right now. Now that we got that pile of figures out of the way, the first thing I want to talk to you about are double heads. Most of these figures have a secondary head. And I'll use my trusty, sharp X-Acto pointer knife here. But each of these have generally 2 heads. Now, there are Rage characters, there are Wraith characters, if you can even see that very well. It says Wraith up in the top right. And like I said, these are kind of volatile packages to stand up. They're rather difficult. And you have Alpha Team. And as far as I know, those are the 3 factions. And we might discover more later, I don't know. But those are the 3 factions. The Wraiths and Rage generally have what I would call a leader head, which are these 2, and a trooper head right there. So you could easily buy one figure and just swap the head out. You could have a leader, or you could have a trooper. It doesn't really matter. A lot of the Alpha Team figures, and there's actually I think 2 or 3, just have 2 named heads. So if you want both of these characters, you're gonna have to buy 2 of these figures so you can get that figure. I don't know if I like the idea of 2 heads. The one downside I see to a good guy like this is you have to buy, if you're gonna buy 2 figures anyway to get the 2 unique characters, then by buying 2, you're gonna have extra heads laying around, and I don't use a lot of extra heads. I don't need extra heads. So to me, I'd almost just rather that head not be there, but I can see why they did that. If you want to be more on a budget and buy less figures, then you could choose which character you want if you're not going to buy all of it. But with the leader trooper thing, it also doesn't 100% make sense, because if you have the leader and then you're going to put the trooper head on, well, who's leading it? I mean, this guy could lead this trooper, I suppose. But then again, these are different factions, so I guess that doesn't really count. But anyway, one thing I did find kind of interesting, and I will put these 2 figures up next. Cross your fingers, cross my fingers that they stay. I purchased the all-in pack, which if I remember right, came with 19 figures or so. And everything was represented. I got 2 of these ones, I got 2 of those, and I got 2 of those. However, this Alpha Trooper here, I guess I'll call him Alpha Trooper right there, and this Night Wraith, he looks dark. You only get 1 of these, and unless that's just something that happened in my box, maybe I'll have to go back and look to see what I ordered for sure, but you only get 1 of these. But this is like an Alpha Trooper and a Luna Trooper in one, so you'd need to buy, you're probably going to buy multiples of those anyway. This is, actually I'm not quite sure, a Night Wraith, and maybe it's 2 different heads for the same character. I'm not really sure, but if these are supposed to be 2 different versions of the Night Wraith, I only got one, so I would need a second one anyway. So that's kind of odd that you got two of everything else, but not two of these. One other thing that I thought I would mention that just popped up in my mind about these is these could actually, instead of being a trooper, could be like the leader's mask. So if like this guy over here, I can't remember his name right now, but you wanted him to be with a helmet, you could just take this head off and that would be his helmet. And maybe he's not a trooper. So then that's a way that would work and not be nearly as odd, is these are just their helmets, so to speak. However, I did a very rough count, and I could be wrong. Someone, if they know more than me, like if you ran these, or if this is your figure line, and maybe I'm a little confused. If you want a figure for each and every character or head represented, you need like about 25 figures total for everything. So, they're about, I can't remember, $25, $30 per figure. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. They might be more towards that 25 mark. So, 25 times 25, I guess, is a very rough average. But anyway, just to wrap up the whole heads thing, I think my big deal is I don't want all these extra heads floating around, because that's stuff I have to store somewhere. So I know, woe is me. I mean, I have to store their extra accessories and arms and all this extra stuff. I might as well toss the head in there, right? So now what I'm going to do is we're going to investigate and look at the cards away from these figures, so it's a little bit easier to show you and talk to you about the cards. So here we have a pile of cards that I've pulled out, because not every card is unique to that figure. In fact, we have what I would classify as faction cards. So we've got the Alpha Team, which has this character on it. When I flip it around, then you see all the Alpha Team characters, and that's it. Let's set this one. Oh, and by the way, it also mentions something here, a little bit of a story, and then you got the websites, I guess, where you can go and learn more about this. But there's no file card for like this particular character, because this character is actually not representative of this character, but all of Alpha Team. So I'll set this over there. Then we have the Rage card, and I'm guessing that this is, from what I've understood, this is the leader of Rage, and this is a representation of all the Rage characters. When we flip it around, there's all the Rage characters there, and looking between the two, sure enough, this is a different little story down here. This must have to do specifically with Rage, and we'll set this one over here. Then we have the Wraiths, and again, this is representative of all of them. This is what's on all the Wraith cards. And we go flip this around, and you get to see all of the Wraith characters, and then another little paragraph or two about that faction. So as far as I can tell, there are like 3 factions in Strike Force Alpha. Now I want to take a really quick moment to discuss how I enjoy action figures and how I learn about an action figure line. Way back in the 80s with G.I. Joe, I didn't know there was a comic book. I wasn't reading a G.I. Joe comic book, but I bought a lot of the G.I. Joe figures, and mostly what I learned about each individual figure, I learned from the file card that was printed on the back. That and the cross sale and all the little tidbits around. Like, I knew who the enemy was, I knew who the Dreadnoks were, I knew who the Tiger Force characters were, because everything that I needed to know was on the package, or a vehicle package. Now, yes, I did watch the Sunbow cartoon for a couple years, but it didn't cover all the characters. There was later characters in the 90s. Well, okay, there was a cartoon, but I didn't really watch that too much. But there were characters that never made it into animation, and I still learned a lot about them through those file cards. Now, when I look here, I know nothing about any of these characters, which doesn't help getting familiar with them or necessarily remembering who they are and what they do very easy. Why do I mention all that? Well, this is why I mention all that. We're going to get to this one right here, and I believe that this is a Kickstarter exclusive packaging, if I remember correctly. Now, this is an Alpha Team card, but this is this character. Who's this character? It's Shadowblade. So he gets a file card. Well, a data card. Let's call it a data card in case file card is proprietary. I don't know. Copyrighted? I don't know. But it's an information card for this character. So this guy gets his own art, and actually kind of a cool looking packaging that looks different than the others, like different colors. He gets a file card, and also there's mention of the 3 different factions: Wraiths, Alpha Team, and Rage. And overall, I like this package probably the most, just because it doesn't necessarily have a cross sale for all the characters, although you could do all of these really small all over the back. You'd have a lot of them though. But I do like at least explaining the 3 factions and a little bit about this character. Next we come to the Knight Wraith, and I don't know, compared to this guy right here, this card is extravagant. I mean, we've got like next level here. This is full card art. This is actually more than I personally need. I mean, this is just showcasing this is Dan Watt's art, my guess. And I mean, it looks really cool, don't get me wrong. Maybe it's pulled from their digital comic book. I think it's a digital comic book that they have. I don't know, I don't have the comic book. You flip it around and you get more of this really cool full card art, and then they put a file card for this character. But there's no hint of factions, it's just the file card and full art. This is like a really artful card. So it's very different than Shadowblade's card over here. Then we get to the next set of cards, and this is for the Lost Squadron. I'll flip this around. It even says on the back, not on the front, but on the back, the Lost Squadron. It would actually be kind of cool if up here somewhere it said the Lost Squadron, so we knew exactly what we had here. But on the front, we just get this very full card art, and if you hadn't noticed already, we get several of them. So once you take these cards off, you might not know who these go back to, but if you flip it around, they all have their own unique file card. So here's Johnny Bullet. There's Atomic Mike. Here's Baron Steel. And Sergeant Slugger right there. So we get to know a little bit about these 4 characters. These cards are a lot like the Knight Wraiths over here, with that full card art on the front and full card art on the back, and then the file card or the data card or the info card down below. And no information. I mean, this is actually kind of cool. The Lost Squadron, it shows these 3, but who's this guy? This guy isn't part of the Lost Squadron as far as I can tell. I think he's like, I don't know, let's look back over here. And I think he's over here in, this is Rage. So he's like a Rage character. So there's a connection, but I'm not really quite sure what that connection is. So I think the art is really cool. I like the art. It could be so much worse. That's not positive sounding. I mean, it's not bad. I'm going to quit while I'm not ahead. The cards aren't horrible. I like this one right here the absolute most. This is the coolest one that I think they have of all of them, because it shows the character. You flip and it has a nice coloring. You flip it around, it's got a nice data card, and then it's got the faction information. This is a very informative, information-rich action figure card, and I like this one the most. These ones look like they would fit much better in a comic book, and who knows, maybe that's what's in the comic book that I haven't seen or I don't own and I haven't read yet. I want to be able to understand this line without that. I want the packages to tell me who these characters are. Why should I care about them? What's going on? And truthfully, I really haven't read these 3 things yet. So maybe these 3 pieces of information down here will tell me everything I need to know. But I figure I want to show you exactly what's going on with these figures, so that if you decide you would like to buy some, you're making some informed decisions, and you know what's happening when you buy different cards. If you only bought this one right here, and you're like, wow, this is cool, I like the figure, I like the card, it looks really good, and then say you go buy, I don't know, this guy, this Shadowblade, because you think, hey, that's cool. And you get this card and you're like, that's not Shadowblade on here. Who is that? And there's not even a file card. There's like nothing. Or you decide to get one of these guys, like, hey, that's pretty cool. And then like you flip it around and like, hey, this looks different. Like, who's these guys? Like, there's like another faction. So I want to make sure that you know what's going on with all these different cards, because I think it's important when you're getting ready to buy, especially when they're like $25 or so action figures. you have some good information behind you. So I think that covers it for the cards, and I'll tell you all my pros and cons at the end, so stick around to the very end of the video if you want to know what my pros and my cons for this entire action figure line is. Next, we're going to get into the characters. So here are all the Strike Force Alpha action figures that I have purchased to do this review. And as we're going through each character, because I'm going to name the characters and kind of give you a little bit up close look at the figure, I'm going to be using my handy dandy cheat sheets. Because, yeah, most of these I don't remember the name of. Funny enough, I actually remember most of the characters in the back, the Lost Squadron. I actually remember most of those names pretty easily. It's all these front guys that are very difficult for me to remember. So the first one we're going to take a look at is what I believe to be the leader of all of this. Was this the Alpha team? And that would be this guy right here, Nomad. Oh, and by the way, I don't know if I'll set them. I might try and set them back. Some of these figures are really difficult to stand, and the balancing is a little bit difficult. Anyway, so back on track, here we have Nomad, and this is what the figure looks like front and back. He's got camo on his pants. He's got kind of a vest, some sort of a tactical vest up there, some gray gloves, knee pads, and brown boots. I won't be going through articulation at this point. This is just mostly to look at the figure. He's got some cool shades. Luckily, we don't have to remove them and put them back on. I like when they're molded on glasses. It just makes things so much easier. So that's Nomad. Then we have Valkyrie, and the primary difference of this figure is it's just a different head. So this is Valkyrie. Get him standing back there. Then we have the Alpha Trooper. And this is a cool outfit. I like this outfit. I like the contrast of light gray and dark gray. It's not quite white. I like the helmet. I think that's pretty neat. It's more of a skin-tight outfit than it is a tactical military. So I think you could use this as a diver, maybe. This almost looks wetsuit-ish. Now, this figure, you could have a second one because this included a head, but when I bought the all-in, it did not come. It only came with one of these figures. I'm a little surprised of all the figures to not duplicate. A Trooper was one. So when you put this head on, I'll talk about these secondary heads. I have a little issue with them. When you put this head on, this is now the Luna Trooper. So we'll tuck him back over here. This is one of the figures that was difficult to get to stand. There we go. We'll stand him there. Stay there. And surprisingly, for the primary Alpha team, that's it. Some of the Lost Squadron back here are Alpha team, but this is like the primary, the three primaries right there. So next we're going to move on with Rage, and the beginning is who I believe is the Rage leader. And this is Dr. Diablo, and this is a very nice looking outfit. It's a very generalish, very, dictatorish maybe, type of outfit. A very nice outfit, got the gold and the black, dark gray, has a very nice mix of colors there. Some red stripes down his sides there. So, like I said, we'll get to articulation later and a few other things. We'll get him standing back very carefully. Next, we've got Hellguard. And again, the primary difference is the head. The body is exactly the same. And I think, if I understand what I'm looking at correctly, the Guards, G-A-R-D, is almost like the G.I. Joe, well, not G.I. Joe, but the Cobra Viper. I think they have a bunch of guards, and, well, they have at least 3 in this. And you will see them, and I'll point them out. Yep, there they go. See? You almost have to have a figure stand for some of these. So I think this is the first time ever that I've knocked figures over on video and left it in. I'm kidding. I usually don't ever knock these things over. Next, we have Karen. Not Karen, but C-A-I-R-N. Karen. Or maybe it's Cairn. Maybe that's how you pronounce it. He's in a very green camo-based outfit with a red beret. He's got an eye patch. He's a mean-looking dude with that eye patch over that left eye. A little bit unshaved there. Got some silver canisters. Maybe those are grenades, smoke bombs. He's got a very rounded, molded in silver gun, a knife in the back there, but he's a very militaristic looking figure. There we go. And then the next one is Skullguard, the exact same figure, except he's got this different head. Man, this is a angry looking troop. I'm guessing the guards are troops for sure. Same figure, just a different head on the figure. Then once we get this guy settled in, there we go. Next we'll get to this, and this is a very fascinating, very interesting figure because of his 4 arms. So this is, let's see, I think it's Construct. Let's see, Construct, I believe is how you pronounce it. He's got a brain sticking out there. Look at that thing. He's exposed brain. And I'll just deal with his articulation real quick. So you can bring his arms up. They're fully functional arms. The top ones won't go and rest straight down flat. But he's like green monster guy, and he's got this purple outfit. His shirt is ripped open there, and yeah, this is a mean looking monster. You can tell he's on the bad guy side. So balance is kind of fun with him. So we'll put him back over here. Next, we're going to, I guess it's this dude right here. He's out front, but we'll be putting him back there in a minute. Set you over here and set you over here. So I believe this is Diversant. 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 And the reason I say I think is because right here it says coming soon. There's actually no package that shows this guy's picture, and he's the only one I couldn't find, so that's why I think that's who he is. And he is pretty much the same as Cairn over there. He's got it's the same figure, just a gray version, gray camo, and some tactical vests, the silver gun, silver canisters. Yeah, very gray. He's having a gray day. See if I think he was actually supposed to have a mohawk, like Valkyrie over here has this mohawk. It's very dark right through the middle here, and the picture even over here shows a mohawk. So I kind of wonder if it was supposed to be the same style of head or not. Okay, so no. Yeah, okay. And that's one thing I'm not a huge fan of. Balancing figures is a really good thing, especially if you're going to display. I don't want to have to buy figure stands just to make my figure stand. Balancing, I know there's a lot that goes into making figures, and that's why I'm not making figures, because I don't know what all goes into it. And I would love to make some of my own figures, but there's so much that goes into it. I'd need some people that know what they're doing. Anyway, this is Night Guard, and it's the exact same figure as Diversant. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Just a different helmet. This is the same head as Skullguard, just a gray version. So we'll probably keep trying to stand up some of these that we can. But let's see, where are we at? Who is next? That actually might be the end of Rage. Now we're going to switch into the Wraiths. And, well, the Master back here isn't doing very good, so we'll talk about this for a minute. Here is the Master, and I'm guessing that this is kind of like, there you go, there's the back of the figure. I'm guessing this is like the leader of the Wraiths, because, well, he's called the Master. And they've got, all of them have this, most of them have this really furry cape. And I've got to say, I'm not a huge fan of this cape. It picks up hair very easily. It picks up some other stuff pretty easily. It just feels like the wrong type of fabric to me. It probably was a pretty cheap fabric or inexpensive fabric. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it was expensive. I'm not really sure. But it's a very thick, furry cape. And I think it would be much, much better to have a thinner cape-like material, because capes, unless you're going to be in the Arctic, these are like Arctic ninjas here with this kind of cape. This would make you really hot, and I don't think it would be fun to wear this at all. Looking at the cape that they have here on the card art, it's a very thin, it's very unlike this. There's this button here that, the reason I don't like, okay, here's a critique. The reason I don't like this button is it removes the scale, so to speak. It makes it look like this figure. This is a real human size snap on an 1/18th scale action figure. And I know we were supposed to suspend disbelief, suspend our belief, this whatever, but suspend disbelief. But it's hard to with this big button right there holding the cape. How would they do it? I don't know. I really like how, let's just say Fresh Monkey Fiction does it. I love the cape that hooks on the back of the neck and then hangs off the back. I think it works really well. And I understand that what they're going for here is a wraparound cape. And Fresh Monkey Fiction, I don't think, has done a wraparound cape. And so this is what they've done. I'm not a huge fan of it, but if you are, that's great. Let's take it off so you can actually see that the figure has kind of like a ninja armor on underneath here. So, and that's what all those wraiths are. I think they're the same outfit here. So, it's a nice looking figure. Just a lot of red. So, let's wrap him back up and send him back to Siberia so he can do his ninja-y thing. Alright, there we go. We'll put the master back there. And then the next one is this guy over here. This is like the alternate. This is the secondary head packaging for the master. And this is just Wraith. So this is like your basic ninja, I'm guessing. This would be your basic ninja troop. The Wraith, same body, just a different head. And I'm going to leave him up here for just a moment. Let's put his cape back on here. And we're going to stand him right here. We're going to let him fall asleep right there. Come on, buddy. Yeah, these guys, the ninjas, were a little bit more difficult for me to get standing there. That's a stuck joint. Just stand. Then we've got the Night Wraith, like the Night Force version. And they all use the same capes. Now, I like this. This one just looks really cool to me. So I really like this figure. Same head, same body, same everything as the other guy. It's just dark colored. Alright, so these guys right there. You have the Wraith and the Night Wraith. There's this helmet here that I guess represents a robotic advanced terror squad. Or if you put these heads on these figures, then you have a robotic advanced terror squad based off of what the back of the card here says. Robotic Advanced Terror Squad. And it shows that head on a red body and a black body. So I guess this doesn't really represent a new character, and that's probably why I didn't get a second one of this guy, because this is another figure I didn't get a second one of, with two bodies, or one body, two head, whatever. That you just put these heads on any of them, and you have a robotic army. So, that's what I've learned there. Then we have Shadow Blade right here. Kind of slowly try to pick up some of these. They had a war, and I don't know if they know who won yet. So here is Shadow Blade. He is using the same type of cape. It's a black cape, and it's a red body. I like his head. I think he has a pretty good head sculpt there. Yeah, same body as the Master and Wraith. Brand new head sculpt. Well, brand news to us, but we'll see it again later. I'm a little confused because, if I understand it right, Strike Force... No. Alpha Team is the good guy. Rage is the bad guy. And Wraiths are like independent ninja assassin type things. I don't know if maybe that's the right word. I'm not sure. It seems like Wraiths are bad guys too. So when you have Shadow Blade on the good side and on the bad side, and I'm kind of glancing over here at his file card, it makes me think either he must be like a spy. I'm not quite sure. It's interesting that he is like a good guy and a bad guy. Maybe this is their Storm Shadow. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's bad. I don't know. And his real name in quotes is Tommy, so it makes me think they were going for a Storm Shadow type of character here. So we'll just take a peek here real quick and see. It says right there, Hiraku, I'm not going to say it, it just says Tommy in quotes. And so, But that moves us right on to the Kickstarter exclusive Shadowblade. And this figure is using these guys' body and the Shadowblade head. So it's almost like a Tiger Force version with these green pants and these yellow stripes down here. It's kind of interesting. At least it's a different look. It's not exactly the same as these two back here. And you've got, instead of the red, he's got red bandana back there for the Wraith and a green bandana with the Alpha team. So, pretty, I like this figure. I like the colors and so forth of that, and I like his head, so that helps a lot. All right, now we're moving on to the Lost Squadron, which they are so lost, they all fell down. So the first guy, The first guy is Sergeant Slugger, and this is using the same body as, or the same figure as that, just a different head again. So it's pretty nice. I like the look of this one. He comes, I'm going to set him here. He comes with a secondary head. I've got to look here on my cheat sheet. A secondary head that is called an Omega Trooper. And I knew that this couldn't actually be him because when you look at both of these, the original head and the alternate head, gosh, every time he puts his head on, or that helmet on, he's going to have to shave because he's got a nice full bushy beard there. This guy's got nothing. So yeah, every time he puts that helmet on. So it's got to be a different. So this is another generic trooper, and it's using the same exact body, the same colors and everything, just a different head. And it's the same head as the Luna Trooper over here, just colored differently. So that's how you get those trooper guys. I'm not sure where to stand these people anymore because I've got to reach behind. Next, we get to Johnny Bullet. And I like this one. I like the colors. He looks a little squatty. I'm not sure why. He looks a little short and squatty, maybe. Maybe he's just too thick everywhere. He needs to be a little bit thinner. But I like the colors. I like the idea. I like the concept. I'm pretty happy. This, as far as I can tell, nope, now that I'm looking at it, he uses the same torso, or the same waist and legs as these Alpha guys. He's got a unique head. But it looks like it might be a new part for the chest. I'm looking around at these other figures. And it's definitely new arms, because these are robotic type arms. Look at that, robotic arms. I like the colors. So I think Johnny Bullet is actually pretty cool. He's very colorful for a real name of Johnny Black. So back you go, Johnny Black Bullet. We're going to start moving guys around so I can reach the Fallen. The Lost Fallen. Here we have Atomic Mike, and don't mind me, I'm still switching my cheat sheets around. Here we have Atomic Mike. Some of these might look familiar to you, and that's fine. I'm not going to point out why they might look familiar. But anyway, he's using the same torso as Johnny Bullet. It's a unique head. I like that head. It's the cyborg right eye. I think that's pretty cool. He's got a cyborg robotic right arm as well, but a human left arm there. And otherwise, it's the same waist and legs as the Alpha Team guys. And it's a very bright camo. To me, this is a very bright green and bright brown, if you can have a bright brown, on a skin-colored shirt. I'm not real up on camo, but it's very bright colored. So... And some of these look a little bit different than what the package shows. Let's see. So if we look here at the package, you can see this is Atomic Mike back here, and he has no camo up here. He's got this little red emblem here. But yeah, this does not look like the Atomic Mike. In fact, Johnny Bullet also doesn't look like this. Johnny Bullet has a red shirt, and this is a brown shirt. So I don't know. Maybe they changed some things last second. But I didn't back the Kickstarter, so I wasn't promised anything, so I don't know. Here we have another one that I like, Baron Steel. I actually like these Lost Squadron figures a little bit better than the original. Probably because there's a little bit more character. Maybe it's the coloring. But Baron Steel we have right here. He's kind of a steel blue. He's got the robotic arms. He's got a robotic face. He must be like a cyborg. Because he's got like a human eyes and stuff, and it looks like it's the exact same figure as Dr. Diablo, just colored differently. Actually, this dude, I might want this guy to lead the army. Oh no, I like his look. I like his cyborgness. Alright, stand back there. And then finally, oh, that was actually it, because my cheat sheet here was Night Wraiths, and we already talked about the Night Wraith. Oh man. Oh no, we didn't talk about this guy. He fell over and I totally forgot about him. This... Oh, it's fun trying to keep these guys to stand. This is a Wraith character, from what I can from what I understand. Cheat sheets. All right, so here we go. It's exact same body as this one right here. Different head. It kind of could have just, packed in these heads in the same packaging. Actually, could have put like all 3 heads and really saved a little bit there. So this guy, as you see him, is called Infiltrator. And this has a helmet that really does not clip on. It's there. And it sits on there. So don't accidentally drop it off, because turn him upside down, because it's not going to hold. It's not going to clip onto, it's not going to stick on anywhere. But when you turn his head around, he's got a lizard. For anyone who's read Harry Potter, it makes me think Harry Potter vibes there. But anyway, now he's a scallion with an S. So I guess this way he's a trooper, and this way he is a named character, Infiltrator and Scallions. I'm not sure. But this is actually kind of a clever way of including 2 heads. They included 2 heads by having the human on one side and a lizard on the other. So I'm not really sure if the story behind this is like an alien with a human face back there. I don't know if this is actually like a story thing, or if that's just a way of saving, because when you put the big helmet on, you really can't see what's going on back there. It kind of, well, actually, it does much better the other way. You can actually still see a lot of his human head that way. So I don't know what exactly is going on here, but it's interesting and it's different, and that makes me kind of like it. I kind of like the interesting and different when it gets too regular or too normalish, I don't know. So that's some interesting. So there is characters, and they are, see, like right there, I went to pick him up with the helmet, can't hold it, so you take it right off. You still got to pick the figure up by the torso. So now that we talked about all these characters, I'm going to scoot a few of these guys back and set things off to the side. Let's take a look at articulation. And I think I'm going to choose this character and this one right here. Or actually, Nomad. I guess he's like Nomad's like the picture of this, isn't he? So the articulation is pretty similar to that of a traditional O-ring, plus some. So you have a head that's on a ball joint. I'll pop this off, and you can see, so there's a ball joint there. So it's different from an O-ring in that you can pop the head off, which I like a lot. I'm not in this for nostalgia. I don't care about nostalgia. I like new things. I like moving forward. And if someone can reinvent the O-ring in, with modern takes, I'm all for that. I'm not necessarily stuck on O-rings, the O-ring past in the way it was. Although I like O-rings a lot. You have an arm that rotates all the way around the shoulder, bends up and down on the hinge. There is a bicep rotation, and it has a 90 degree there at the elbow. And this is another place where it gets different. Instead of, well, typical old O-rings don't have any more articulation down the arm, but this one has a forearm rotation because there we go, it pops off. And we'll talk about their pop and swap feature after we look here at the articulation. As typical O-ring, there you go, I lift it up, there's the O-ring right through there. This thing can bend around and move around. However, I have a bit of a problem with the O-ring. And this O-ring, I think, is tight. I think it's a little too thick, and I think it's a little too tight. The reason I say that is, and we'll bring in Dr. Diablo, I think he's pretty good. When I go to try and straighten him, this is like his resting position. And if you can see, he's at like a bit of an angle. Most of them are. You can't really line them up, and I'm not sure if that's a design thing between waist and base of torso, but it's really difficult to actually get them lined up straight up and down. They're all at a slight pivot angle, which is disappointing. And the O-ring that's in here also makes it a little bit difficult to get them seated. This would be a typical, if you wanted to sit a figure, this would be your typical, but that's about where they are right there. Because of some reason, if you go too far, then you'll see the silver bar comes down below the rear end and just doesn't look appealing. Now, one thing that's interesting is in here, the ball joints for where the legs connect to the waist, they're larger. They're larger holes, they're larger openings, and that allows for what I would call a bit of a twist. It's not a thigh rotation, but you can rotate these legs just a little bit to change their direction, which I think is really cool. You can also pop these legs off pretty easily if you want to do some swapping around, and I'm already kind of showing you the pop and swap features as we go. A single hinge there at the knee, about 90 degrees, and then the final part of a piece of rotation is right here, a boot cut, and that's cool. So the whole pop and swap, well, actually first, let's go over here to, I was going to say Robbie the Robot, but no, Johnny Bullet. He also has, he has everything that works perfectly well, including his cyborg arm has a bend at the elbow. And instead of at the forearm a rotation, it is a rotation at the wrist for these figures. And as far as the other figures, I don't think there's anything interesting or different. I think those are the main highlights there. Now, one thing that is a bit of a disappointment with these figures are the elbows. Their arms go almost as far back, looks like he bent it and broke it, as they do forward. There is really no stopping right here. They should stop about there, and they all do it. They're all very loose, and they go back really crazy far. And that unfortunately, you know, if you're going to put these on a scale of 1 to 10, that's a pretty big thing that would mark it down at least one number notch. Because as you go to put accessories in the hand or you want to pose, if the hands or the arms get loose, you know, that's kind of a weird thing to have them standing like this. And so visually, usability, playability, I don't know how easy the arms are to break. If you accidentally like turn this thing around and you're like, oh, well, I'll just turn it up this way. Wait a minute, that's the wrong way. I don't know what that's going to be long term for these figures in regards to potential breakage. So some of you might think that that's just kind of a minor issue, and if you do, and if that doesn't bother you, then awesome. But I feel like I need to point that out, that that's a pretty big deal. If you get over here to the cyborg robotic arms, they go back just as far, and you know what, they're a robot, they're a cyborg arm, so maybe that's fine, that's not too big of a deal, but it bugs me a little bit, and it really, I think, hurts this really nice looking line to have that go back so far, because pretty much everything else works so well with these figures. So what can you pop and swap realistically with these figures? Well, as I showed you earlier, you can pop the head off, and you can pop the forearm off. You can also pop this middle portion off, the literal elbow as well. Yes, we're going to just take this figure apart piece by piece so you can see. You can also pop off the leg. So any of these things you pop off, you can swap out. And you can also pop off the boot. So there are a lot of possibilities that you can... He's been wounded. We need a medic. That's what they don't have. They don't have a medic here. So those are all the different pieces you could pop off, and you could even go one step further. This has a screw here in the back, just like a regular O-ring figure, and if you need to, you could take off the neck, swap the neck out as well. You could swap out the waist, so you can do that with just a little bit more working if you needed to. I really like this pop and swap system. I really like it a whole lot because, you know, sure, back in the day, when we didn't know any better and the things were constructed a certain way, yeah, we could use a screwdriver, open up a G.I. Joe figure, and customize it to our heart's content. But you know what? We've grown. We've all grown. We have new technologies. We have better ways of doing things. Why not reinvent and update and upgrade our O-ring figures, just like this group has? I think they've done a really good job in attempting to update. I gotta figure out which way this goes, actually. See, there you go. If you mix it up, then like, how do you go? I think it goes this way. I really like anyone who wants to attempt to upgrade it, because I don't really want to disassemble a figure with screws and stuff like that. I've done that for years, and sure, you may think, oh, that's no problem, it's easy. But guess what? Popping, swapping, buddy, that's easier and quicker, because I could do this. Let's see, I don't want him to have that head. I don't want him to have that head. Okay, provided everything works. Wow, that's funny. His, like, hands just fell off. That was easy pop and swap. But anyway, just kind of ruined my point there. But look at that. Off and on right there. Now, Johnny Bullet is in military. Actually, he looks a lot closer to... that's actually kind of cool. You can make him look like this if you want to. By doing that. Look at that. I didn't mean for that to happen, but that's kind of cool, actually. Let's pop this off and pop this off. Look how fast this is. Suddenly, he's now... there we go. That's a little concerning that that's so easy for those hands to fall off, but... I mean, we could do a timer. How fast does it take to pop and swap compared to opening up a figure from the back, dealing with potential things? Look at that. Now we got a whole new Johnny Bullet right there. We've got a militaristic looking Johnny Bullet. That's actually, I'm starting to like this line a little bit better. I just wish the elbows worked a little bit better. And you could even do that for this. You could put him on this red shirt, and he now has skin-colored arms, real arms, not cyborg arms, and look at that. Now we got, I know I say look at that a lot, but now we have this dude in like, maybe like a spy gear outfit. I don't know. He looks, it's like a new figure, except for it's like this character in a new outfit. Because, we like changing up our outfits here. We don't want Dr. Diablo in such a dark drab. Okay, that's a difficult head. And again, these hands are falling off. The cyborg hands are not real cool. Can put Diablo's head right there on this dark color. And so if we want to actually switch the arms out, now he's like Dr. Cyborg Diablo. He's got cyborg arms. Rawr. But if we want to swap the arms out, we could easily just, we actually don't need to swap the arms off at all, because then it would like be blue and black. It'd be weird colors. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. You could swap these out. Now let's see about this dude over here. I've already forgot his name. The four-armed monster. He has the same pop and swap. You can pull off the forearms. You can pull off the elbow. You can pop the head off. He's got the same things. You could give him human. You could give him boots if you wanted to. I'm going to screw all this stuff up. I'm going to have to refer to pictures, because I'm not going to remember all the pieces that go to the characters. I'm someone who likes to keep things... This is concerning and very disturbing. But now, look, he's got gray boots. And so you'd have to keep him with 4 arms, because if you take a set of arms off, you're going to have holes there. Probably wouldn't look so great. But yeah, this is actually kind of fun. Now that I'm getting into this is the first time I've really like swapped things around. This is kind of fun. I'm enjoying these figures just a little bit more than when I started this video. Although I have to say, this is extremely loose, and I probably won't keep it this way because I can't get him to stand. Because everything is really loose. Everything is really loose. But I wanted to pop up these ones here that I've done some switcheroos with real quick so you could see. I actually like this guy a lot. This makes me think, here's a quick little plug for, the Edge Comics that's pre-selling a Blaine 4-inch action figure. It makes me think of Blaine a little bit here with those colors and the sunglasses. But anyway, that's kind of cool. Look at this. We got some new characters and some new outfits here. I like this. That's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying this. Alright, now I want to talk to you about accessories. So I brought out a few trays of accessories from figures, and I think this is a pretty good representation of all the different types of accessories. There's a lot of accessories that are reused over and over and over. They just have different colors, and I think I've gotten a nice little sampling here of accessories. I want to show you this one. if I can get it pulled out. It's a little satellite dish backpack thing. And what I like about this is, do you see this gun in here? Let's get this a little bit closer. You see that gun right there? That gun actually can pop out. And I don't know if I can get it popped out here. I might have to use my handy dandy X-Acto knife. Being very gentle to pry. There we go. But if you get a figure with one of these backpacks, then you also get this little tiny gun. It's like a hidden accessory. That's kind of neat. The satellite dish does not really move around too much. So I'm just going to see how well do these peg in. Backpacks, they peg in perfectly. Very, very good. There's a couple others here. We'll pull out a Wraith backpack and we'll slide it in him. There. Again, couldn't be perfect. Now, one thing I'll point out about this backpack, there are swords here. They're very slender swords. It's funny, most of these accessories fall out. That's why I'm not lifting them up, because they'll just drop. So the swords will slide in like so. Do not, I'll repeat, do not turn this figure upside down, because if you do, the swords will fall right out. There is no little way of attaching or hooking the swords in there so that they don't fall out there. It's just an open hole. So don't do that. Don't do that at all. How do the cyborg hands hold swords? Well, the cyborg hands, they can hold the swords. Will they stay in? They will not stay in. How about regular hands? I'm going to scoot those back just a little bit. Got the regular hands. I know these are not the correct characters, but if you're popping and swapping, then, you know, who knows which hands. These all accessories should be easy to use for all characters. Now, if you saw that, you should know that when yeah, they're not falling out of regular hands. So, cyborg hands with swords, probably not the best idea. Regular hands works very, very well. All of these include, so I was talking about the pop and swap earlier, but I'd like to point out how you have a lot of pop and swap options. There's a whole bunch of hands that come with this figure. You get some cyborg attachments that come with this figure. And so in the packages with these figures, you get some of these pop and swap pieces. You don't have to buy multiple pieces to, if you want the full experience, then yeah, get them. Now, I'm going to say that this gun, and this is probably about the only gun that I have an issue with. This gun is extremely, let's see if I do that, is extremely thin. Very, very thin. And I'm actually concerned that this would break. And I bought this thing. I paid some money for this stuff. I'm not about to bend this. If someone wants to send me something for free that I can stress test, I would be happy to just bend and break something all over the place for a video to show you all how it works. But I don't really want to bend and break the items that I bought. So, and you probably don't want to break your stuff either. Now, it's interesting. These do have trigger holes, but there are no trigger fingers as far as I can tell. The figure holds the weapon very well, and can even hold with the secondary hand really well. Check that out. Looks good. How about cyborg hands? I think human hands and cyborg hands are about the only hands here. Oh, there's monster hands over here. I could try that out. So just like that, one-handed, it's not going to hold in very well. I don't know if the cyborg hands are really meant for the weapons or not. Of course, if you do this, then that helps hold the weapon just a little bit better. Won't fall out of the hand as easily. But we'll take that out here. Let's grab a lizard hand over here. These are kind of more open hands, but they also kind of look like the human hands. But that's pretty flimsy. The lizard hands don't really hold the guns either. Actually, that's a lizard fist, not a lizard hand. Those are both fists. So the lizard probably actually has some multiple hands to swap those out, but why'd I put that over there? So I'd say the lizard hand doesn't hold the weapons very well at all. I mentioned earlier how these hands just came right out so easily. Well, let's try a couple of these attachments. See how well the attachments held on. Here's like a buzzsaw. Bzzz. Oh, that's tight. Oh yeah, that's tight. That thing is not going to drop out at all. So you can swap out these attachments. Those hands just are crazy though. How loose they are. This little thing, I'm not sure exactly what this is. A gun, a flamethrower, not sure, but that's pretty tight as well. That's not coming out at all, so you can feel free to swap out these cyborgish hands at will, and it looks like you've got no problem with them staying on. Let's see, what else do we got going on here? Oh, now this is something I wanted to specifically mention that I was noticing. So, Shadowblade over here, he came, in fact, actually, this might be his set right here. Nope, it isn't. But Shadowblade came with an accessory pack looking like this. It came with the Valkyrie head, some hands here, a gun, a backpack, and a hat. I want to make sure that you know that the hat that comes with Shadowblade will not fit. It's not designed to fit on his head. It is designed to fit on this Valkyrie head that's in here. So that's a little bit disappointing, and maybe why don't include extra heads, because then you don't have to include those accessories that don't fit the figure. This does not fit the Shadowblade head. Kind of disappointing that a lot of figures, like G.I. Joe figures, you could put on accessories across the different characters and figures. So anyway, there's another gun here. It's like looks like a sci-fi-ish type of gun to me. It's like a ray gun, a ray rifle. So how does that hold? So here's a human hand holding it. Oh, that's tight. Yep, that's good. He's not dropping this thing at all. There's not, well, until I did that. What did I just do? It fell right out, but what did I do? So, oh, I see. So it looks like, for some reason, there is a gap right here between part of his hand and the handle. So if you have him hold it like this, there is no gap. And if you want him to hold it like that, well, it can slide right out. Funny, it can just slide right out. If I usually put weapons to where it's like this, and if you do that, then if you bump it, it's going to fall right out. That's kind of disappointing. We almost had a winner. Cyborg actually holds this gun a whole lot better. Do it several different ways. What if I tap it? Look at that, I can even tap it on the Cyborg. So I think this gun is actually made better for Cyborg hands than for human hands. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, that fits in the Cyborg hand really awesome. Really well. How about a lizard hand? I would actually say that's kind of an in-between. Nah, it's loose. Nope, never mind, it's loose. So anyway, that's kind of a cool like ray rifle, ray gun type of deal. He's still wearing a backpack. How about this figure? This figure, that's as far as the backpack goes. There is a bit of a gap there, but you know what? It's holding, it's there. It works. They have a military infantry backpack of sorts. Looks like these particular styles have a gap, but it's not going anywhere. How about the figure it was more designed for? Yeah, it works. That was a tight squeeze. That works really well. I like that. That's pretty good. There's another sword, another little gun. Here's a little pistol. It's a little pistol of sorts. A little handgun. Try it in a cyborg hand. Oh, nope. No dice. Look at that. You don't want to shoot that way. Come on, buddy, aim. But it's not really going to hold it. How about the human hand? Human-based hand. All right, that was a pretty good tight fit. Looks like this is pretty good. What if I flick it? Well, if I flick it, but you know what? You don't need to be flicking things, but it looks like it holds really well in the human hand and the cyborg hand. And I found something we could try here. It looks like it might be some sort of a grenade launcher. A one-handed grenade launcher. We'll try it in the human hand first. Actually, that's either really rubbery or it's starting to break. That's really soft here. You can see that. So it'd be a little bit more gentle now with that, because I don't want to break that off. It's bending just a little bit to have it like that in the arm. You can tell me in the comments if I'm putting it in the hand right, but there is no place for a secondary hand to really hold this, so this is like a single shot. I don't think the human hand holds that very well at all. Let's try the cyborg hand. I think the cyborg hand probably holds it. Now see, this is a heavier weapon, so once it gets to a certain point, well, it did just do it. There you go. If it gets warm, say you live in a warmer climate and you've got this figure standing up and he's holding this gun out and maybe the arm's at a certain angle, like say that angle, if it drops, it looks really weird to have the arm drop down past where a normal arm stretches. Because like say you want to have him displayed like this, and then after a nice bout of hot weather, it looks more like that. With that elbow stoppage, it would look more like that, but probably look more like that. The arm, I don't know. The arm might droop all the way down, but you at least keep a straight arm there. But the cyborg hand holds this grenade launcher thing really well. All right, so let's wrap this up. Let's talk about my pros and my cons. All right, yeah, this looks so different. I changed this up quite a bit. All right, so I have a list of cons and a list of pros. I'm going to talk about the things that I don't like first. That way we can end the video on a more positive note while I talk about the things that I do like. So the first thing that I don't like about these action figures is the hyperextension of the arms. This really truly needs to be fixed before they release any more additional figures, and that kind of stinks because that means they have to go back and redo this particular part of the figure, which is actually, might not be as big of a deal as I think, because the way they have their system, it's really just redesigning this portion. Everything else works fine. It's just actually it's even simpler than that. It's only redesigning this section, and they can keep their swappable shoulders and hands. So actually it's just redesigning this elbow, which might not be as big of a deal as I thought. But really and truly, it's a big deal. It really is a big deal for this line. This line is almost there. It's almost great. It's just got a few things we just need to pop up a little bit. The other thing is some of the figures don't sit very well. So if you notice this, watch this figure. When I go to sit him down, he leans back. And he also flings this way a little bit because of that inner rubber band. So I don't know if it's a thickness of the O-ring or if it's how tight the O-ring is. For whatever reason, let's just put him straight here. Well, he's kind of sitting straight now, but this is typically what they sit like. So it'd be nice if these figures could actually sit better so they're not like doing weird poses inside of vehicles. Because right now, all we have are the G.I. Joe Real American Hero 80s and 90s vehicles to put these guys in. Unless Scorched Earth is going to start making vehicles, we need figures that will sit in those vehicles, I think, really well. The other thing that I don't like are some of these weapons, specifically these weapons. The ones that I think are going to snap and are going to break. They are so thin, they almost feel like paper. And it'd be nice to have, I don't care about the detail if I can get the weapons just a little bit thicker so they don't break. Because I don't want to buy something and then have something break, and even if the company's awesome and will send me a replacement weapon, that shouldn't really be a thing. If they can figure out how to make them a little bit thicker and a little bit sturdier from the get-go, saves them a lot of money, I would think, in any replacement parts they would need to do. And then there are these capes right here. I think we need a better cape system. I don't like these fluffy, hairy, it's kind of wrong sounding, but I don't like these thick, Arctic feeling type capes, and I really don't like the buttons here. I like how Fresh Monkey Fiction, so if they can come up with a way of reinventing the Fresh Monkey cape that hooks around the neck, somehow have a hood, somehow maybe enough, large enough piece of fabric that it can wrap around. I know what you're going for. You want this to attach in the front so the cape will cover a lot of the figure because that looks cool. I understand what you're going for. So if you could come up with a slightly different way, maybe thinner fabric, man, it feels heavy. It feels like it would be hot. And if you're going out on warm days, you're not going to be wearing this cape. It's unrealistic to wear this cape on a warm day for a ninja. So if you could thin this fabric down, I don't mind having capes that hook around arms. This is O-ring stuff, and you know what? We had that in the 80s, and it worked pretty well. Just to wrap around, I think that would work well. So, but that's my opinion, and I think it's a con. But this is my personal list, so if you don't think that's a problem, then that's fine. No problem. And then I had on my list something about robotic arms holding the weapons better. So like I'd shown earlier, these hands or this gun doesn't really hold very well. It drops right out. We discovered though these like sci-fi-ish type of blasters, they work pretty good. But it'd be cool if somehow all the hands held all the weapons as equally as possible. I think that would be pretty cool. Then you could just really pop and swap the weapons, so to speak, as well. So that would be really cool. And then my final big deal that I think is really important is cards. If these are going to be for collectors and people who want to know about the line, I don't think having generic artwork on the factions is good. I really don't. I think there's a level of quality, and I know it's going to be expensive. I know it's going to add expense to stuff. But if you could have unique card art for each character and have some information, maybe shrink these down a little bit instead of having more than half the card, that's maybe 25% of the card taken up. Shrink these down, move them up. You could have this paragraph like through here, and then you could move this up a little bit and put the file card right down through there. I think would be really awesome, and it would help us get to know these characters better, especially if you're not going to have an ongoing comic book or an ongoing animated series or a series in general to let us know who these characters are. So we can develop relationships with your characters and want to buy more of your characters and your figures in the future. And I'm not saying this is bad. I mean, this is really nice. What is this, George Vega? I mean, this is really cool. I love this art. I really do. I want to see more of George's art on these cards. I want to see all these characters in George's style on all the cards. I like it. I think they're really cool. As much as I like Dan Watts, I'm also someone who likes consistency. So since I really like this, I want to see George, do all the card art. And then this looks like comic book art. Let's have Dan. I don't know who's doing the comic book, but I'd say, if you want to have a bit like this on all the cards, let Dan do all this not animated, but comic style. This is cool stuff. I really like, this is probably something to emulate right here. This Shadow Blade card. Doesn't have to be the same colors, but you got the main character here. You've got the team affiliation. You've got the file card, and you've got faction kind of information. I mean, you've got the 3 factions. It'd be cool to actually have information. But, I think a mixture. I think you could come up with a really cool card that collectors would really love, and people who aren't even collectors would really love. That's what I'm looking for, and I think these generic-looking cards are a bit of a con. I think you're almost there. This is almost an A+ line, and I'm not trying to be negative. I'm hoping that this is constructive criticism, because I love these figures. I'm enjoying them a lot, and I want to enjoy them more and for longer. And these are the things that I would look at and I would see. Now, let's end this video on a completely and totally positive note. I've said all the negative stuff. Let's end this with all the happy stuff, because there's a few things I do like. I just said I like this line, and then I'm saying all these negative things. So, I really like the added articulation points. By the whole pop and swap system, we get rotation at the boots. I love that, because, O-ring figures sometimes, they look boring. You just stand them there. Like, la-di-da. How boring are you? But, you could kind of put the feet out maybe just a little bit. Or maybe you could have a bit of a stance or something. I don't know. I like the added articulation of this boot cut. And I also like what the larger holes in the legs do around this barbell joint. Allows for this bit of a twist, because then you can also then spread the legs a little bit. It's no longer just a straight up and down boring O-ring action figure. And, I like the wrist rotation of figures, but you're doing something different on these figures, and that's the forearm rotation for your pop and swap. And I like that. It worked for what you're trying, for what these figures, what Scorched Earth is trying to do. I like this. That way you can swap out gloves. It doesn't have to be just wrist, long gloves. Like over here, you got these pieces that are like longer gloves with fingers. But I like having it back here. I think that works really well too. And actually, that's about it. There's extra little bits of articulation here in the head just by the ball joint. And it's not just the ball joint, but the neck piece moves back and forth as well. So like you could lean the head down and turn it. Look at that. I mean, you've got a new direction. An O-ring figure might just look down or look up or turn left or turn right, but look down, turn right, look up, turn left. You can position that head in a couple different ways. I think these are really cool updates to O-ring figures. The only thing that I would probably recommend would be a thigh rotation. But you know what? I don't think I need it because of how these legs work. I think articulation-wise, you've nailed it pretty well. Or these figures nail it pretty good. I like them a lot in that regards. And then, as I've pointed out previously, I really like these figures because of the swappability. I can't help it. I'm going to keep using these too. I really like it until I get in and really... I'm going to have to play around and customize these things and maybe take some pictures. But to me, doing this, I get like 2 new characters, 2 new figures out of the deal. And like this might encourage me to buy more figures so I could keep these figures as is and in their original way. I'm really liking this figure right here. I like how I did this. This is so much fun. I can't wait to get in and do pop and swap customizing just to see what else I can come up with. Not everything's going to be great. Not everything's going to be awesome. I think I really lucked out truthfully with this. This looks cool. This is neat, but I don't like this figure nearly as much as I like that one now. So I like the customization ability, the lazy customizing ability for us lazy customizers with the whole pop and swap system. I really like that a lot. And, you know, these figures, they feel good. They feel good in the hand, except for some loose arms and elbow issues that were in the con area. Overall, these feel like sturdy, substantial O-ring figures. I could drop them and I don't think they're going to break. They're not going to just shatter. I'm now throwing them. You know, I think these are good. And to me, that's important because I think, well, no, I'm kidding. I think, these types of figures should be played with. And I think maybe not the pop and swap. That may be, a whole new discussion about age appropriateness with pop and swap because there are small parts all through here. But even for adults, these are playable. And I like that. I really like figures I can just take right out and start moving around, bending around, posing around, putting things in. I don't have to heat these up. I don't have to give them a hot bath. I don't have to blow them with a hot air dryer. These are ready to go, pop and swap out of the package. And I like that. I like that these figures are ready to go out of the box to pose, to play with, to do things with. Overall, I really like Strike Force Alpha. I like these figures. Now, if just a few little things can be corrected, this will be an amazing line. This is kind of like a partially amazing line. I would give this line, out of 10, I would probably say that this entire line, let's go with 8. I don't want to go below an 8. When you get to 7, that's kind of... people start to look at things like, well, that's not good, and I don't want people to think these aren't good. I would go with at least a minimum of 8. Let's get it up to 10. I know these can be a 10. This is a bad idea here, by the way. You got some neat figure concepts here. You got some nice gray troops and leaders. You got some nice military style. Where's Valkyrie over here? I'm starting to remember their names. You got some nice military-looking characters. You got some non-military-ish, like more fantasy-style characters. I mean, it's got a lot. You got ninjas. I really like... Where is he? He's hiding. I really like the Night Wraith. I like the silver and the black. I think that works. I'm running out of room here. I think that works really well. You can see I'm actually getting these to stand. I mean, you can get these to stand. They don't not stand. Oh, and... really quick, before we end, I actually have something more to show you. These weren't on my list because I didn't have them at the time. When I ordered the all-in, not all the all-in stuff came with my order. So anyway, let's knock these guys off to the side real quick. There are little accessory sets that you can get as well. And these look like they are for cyborg-related stuff. It doesn't say on here. It's got a nice little bag, but these are just Ziploc bags, I think, with this stapled over it. But these are like some arm pieces here. Make sure you can actually see these. Zoom in. This is like a zombie kit, so you get like a zombie head here, and some zombie feet, some zombie arms, and this one is like a robot kit. You get this robot head that I've got laying around over here. You get this head in there, and you get some more robotic arms and some more robotic pieces that you get other places, but these have some extra little pieces of color. They look a little better. And then finally, I also have here some nice thick figure stands. This has SFA, Strike Force Alpha figure stands. There's a single little, it's a pretty big dot actually, but yeah, it goes right on. Yeah, he can stand through the package. Look at that. But there are 5 green ones, and there's a package of 5 black ones. That, these are the, like, Alpha Team, green Alpha Team, and these have, like, a skull on them. So this is, like, Rage, that's what it is. These are Rage stands and Alpha Team stands, 5 each, so you'd have to get quite a few to stand up all these figures. But yeah, they also have, they are providing some extra little accessory packs as well, so you can load out your figures slightly different, like the zombie stuff. With the original stuff, there's no zombie stuff here at all. Now, there is a zombie figure you can get, but that was offered a little bit later, and we'll talk about that stuff again in the future. But that's it. Thank you for stopping by. I hope this very long, very comprehensive, very detailed video about Strike Force Alpha has helped you in some way, shape, or form. I hope I haven't completely, talked you out of it, because that was not what I'm trying to do. I just want to present something that will help you make a decision. Do you want to get these or do you not want to get these? And yeah, that's it. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next video.